if we're seeing God candles regularly, 10K daily movements, it's probably going to bring us to a 100K daily movement relatively soon. And 100K is just, 10x. Bitcoin has done 17x in the past with a totally different macroeconomic landscape than today. Like zero Bitcoin national adoption, no strategic Bitcoin reserves, no talk about issuing Bitcoin bonds, and no talk about buying a million Bitcoin from the US. So it's completely within the realm of possibility that you get a 100K candle soon, maybe this year.
Samson kicks things off by introducing some powerful new terminology gaining traction in the Bitcoin world. You've probably heard of the legendary God candle, a massive $10,000 surge in Bitcoin's price in a single day, usually to the upside. But now, brace yourself for something even more explosive. The Omega candle, a jaw-dropping $100,000 daily move. It's a seismic event that could redefine how the world thinks about money and value itself. If you're into crypto, this is a must-watch. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on key insights like this. We've got tons more content breaking down the biggest moments in Bitcoin and the digital asset space, and we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Every like, share, and comment helps push this message further through the algorithm and supports the channel more than you know. Stay tuned. This video could change the way you see the future of finance. Let's dive in.
Yeah, so the Omega candle is a 100K candle, and a God candle, or also called a Godzilla candle, is a 10K candle. But the Omega candle, it should be green, but it might be red. Like one of the first God candles, I think, was a red God candle, like 10K down. But it just goes to show that the Bitcoin price movements are becoming bigger and bigger, and people are not always aware of these movements. But I still see people like poking at me and saying, "Hey, where's your God candle that you've been talking about?" And my reaction is like, "Go look at the chart. There have been like 8 or 9 of them so far." But people aren't really aware, and they're not going to be aware of the Omega candle too. Maybe they will, who knows? But like the indication is that if we're seeing God candles regularly, 10K daily movements, it's probably going to bring us to a 100K daily movement relatively soon. And 100K is just, 10x. Bitcoin has done 17x in the past with a totally different macroeconomic landscape than today. Like zero Bitcoin national adoption, no strategic Bitcoin reserves, no talk about issuing Bitcoin bonds, and no talk about buying a million Bitcoin from the US. So it's completely within the realm of possibility that you get a 100K candle soon, maybe this year. So I think that the biggest thing is the Omega candle is saying be ready for this when it happens because things are changing very, very rapidly. If you're paying attention to money in general, you can see that there are already Omega candles in many countries like Egypt, Turkey, and whatnot. So it's just a matter of time. But I think beyond 1 million, maybe you don't need it because at that point, if you're seeing these kind of fluctuations, like a multi-omega fluctuation, fiat is kind of on its way out. There's a very famous chart of the German, the Weimar Mark against gold, right? You've probably seen it, but the monthly volatility is just insane. It's like hundreds or thousands of percent in a month, and sometimes going negative when they're intervening with price policy, trying to save it. But we're getting there, right? God candles are already like that, and then once you get omegas, it gets like that, and it's kind of signaling this thing is getting to the end of its life, and something is going to have to happen. Either it's Bitcoin, or maybe they'll reboot it and make a new thing. But with the optionality of Bitcoin, I don't think it's possible to make a new thing. So it's just Bitcoin. You are seeing the coins on exchange decline, right? And I think it'll just accelerate now with more corporate buys. And if there are nation state buys, like with Cynthia Lummis's bill, then that's just going to accelerate. And I don't think everyone fully understands the 21 million limit, right? Because we've grown up, well, when I say we, I mean everybody, we've grown up in a very fiat world where there's always wiggle room, right? With a fiat economy, you can always fix your mistake. Okay, like in Canada, maybe we spent too much on vaccines. Now print some more money. And printing doesn't necessarily mean money on a printing press. There are so many ways to print money, right? Issuing debt or monetizing debt. But, you know, you can fix your mistake, right? We messed up. Well, we'll fix it. But with Bitcoin, there is no recourse. Just like you can't roll back the Bitcoin chain if there's a theft, right? You just can't print more. And that reality has not yet hit the general populace that, okay, there is only 21. And that number is dropping rapidly. Um, they don't know. Like, there's just never been anything like this before. Like, maybe gold, but still, like 2% inflation a year. And it can increase if there is demand. So it's like a different beast still compared to Bitcoin. And it takes a lot of going down the rabbit hole to really understand that ultimate scarcity, that it's just like hitting a wall. No one will help you get more Bitcoin because you can't. If you break down the Bitcoin pie, like maybe like 3, 4 million coins might be lost, right? Maybe five on the higher end of the boundary, but a lot of coins were lost. You can't look at Bitcoin at the lens that you're looking at it today and understand that, people 10, 15 years ago understood it the same way. A lot of people just didn't care, or yeah, they just lost it and threw away the hard drive. And there's a lot of that. And that brings us down to, maybe 15, 16 million coins available. And Michael Saylor alone has taken off all the coins to be mined this year, maybe twice, maybe more. And then you factor in any other significant buyer, and you get a multiple of that. So it's likely that Bitcoin is already deflationary, right? Everything that is mined is not adding to the supply. So there is really little Bitcoin left. And I think all these dips, all the fear right now, it, yeah, if you think of things adversarially, then someone trying to accumulate a lot of Bitcoin would do well to make you think that, yeah, we're going to drop to 70 and we're going to have a bear market so that you sell your coins to them because there's so little left. And, the price dips seem to convince maybe Bitcoiners with less conviction that, yeah, there's lots of Bitcoin too, because, we like whenever I post something like there's only 21 million, then there's always some guy retorting like, well, then why is the price going down? It's the price can go down because there's 2 million coins on exchanges that can be used to move the price up and down, and it's trading. So short term does not indicate what happens in the long term, and we know what the long term result is, that there is not enough Bitcoin for anybody.
Samson pulls back the curtain on a powerful trend unfolding behind the scenes. Governments around the world are ramping up discussions about Bitcoin. Ever since El Salvador made its bold move in 2021, the tone has completely shifted. At first, politicians were paralyzed by fear, worried that being the first to adopt Bitcoin could end their careers. But just like we saw in the corporate world after Michael Saylor's historic buy, the momentum is building fast. Samson suggests that several nations are now engaged in serious, behind-the-scenes talks. And it's not just governments, private sector giants are waking up too. The CEO of Rumble recently confirmed a Bitcoin purchase, and there are strong rumors that GameStop's CEO is eyeing a similar move. These early adopters aren't just making headlines. They're setting the stage for a historic supply crunch that could ignite the mythical Omega Candle, a $100,000 daily Bitcoin move. This is the kind of shift that doesn't just affect markets. It changes the global financial narrative. Let's go back to the interview.
Well, El Salvador also adopted Bitcoin out of necessity, right? They needed something to rebrand with and to get attention, right? And through attention, you get investment and you get development, everything else. I'm not downplaying the other things they've done, like lower the crime and make it a safer place, but definitely Bitcoin was a big part of their strategic rebranding, and it did bring them a lot of benefits, and led to a lot of new opportunities for the country. So the U.S. is adopting it also out of necessity to fix their economic problems. And El Salvador did the same, but to boost their country and kind of get attention. So I think there's very different things at play in each one, but definitely you can say like the U.S. is going to make a bigger difference because it's just a bigger country that will have a far bigger impact on the Bitcoin adoption around the world because El Salvador is small. And when we go out to engage with other countries, we always talk about El Salvador as like the first one and they're doing this and they're on a Bitcoin standard. But it doesn't seem to matter that much. Everyone is still looking to the US and what's happening there. It's just, you always want to look at the bigger guy and see what they're doing. The flood of nation states. So we've been working on this for a number of years post El Salvador, and it's always been a challenging conversation. Like, number one is career risk. Politicians are very worried about that, right? They don't want to be the one talking about Bitcoin, and it takes a lot of guts to do so. Um, it's almost like corporations. Like corporations also have upward battle to adopt Bitcoin, right? And it's the same type of career risk that people are worried about. But we saw that shift last year with the Semler and everything else coming out. Like they're just normal company CEOs that have decided to implement a Bitcoin strategy playbook written by Michael Saylor. And that took some time. And even then, it's not in a big way. Actually, today, Rumble CEO announced they bought a number of Bitcoin. I forgot the number, but that's another big one too, that if it materializes in a big way, it's gonna take a lot of supply off the market. But I think GameStop is also looking at it too, right? The CEO of GameStop is seriously looking at Bitcoin adoption. But it just needs some more traction. But it did take some time because from the point at which Michael Saylor started buying Bitcoin until last year, he had a good run where there's like zero competition. And I think it's the same for nation states. And we're just starting to re-engage now after the SBR executive order and talk to the politicians and governments again, but with this new information, because we as Bitcoiners are still in an echo chamber. Normal people don't know. Last night we had a call with a former head of state in this country, and we had to tell them that. About all these things that we're talking about in this podcast. So it's almost like we're just relaying the news because it's not always what they're paying attention to. So I would say this year we're going to see some movement, if not a lot of movement, on actual bigger countries adopting Bitcoin in some way, or at least starting to.
One of the most eye-opening moments in the interview comes when Samson delivers a hard truth. Bitcoiners are still mostly talking to themselves. Despite all the energy in crypto circles, the broader public, including many heads of state, still has no real understanding of what's happening. In recent meetings with world leaders, Samson and Mow had to start from scratch, breaking down basic Bitcoin concepts that many in the space assume are common knowledge. That's why Samson believes true mass awareness is still a long way off, and why the Omega candle will blindside the world. It won't be priced in. It won't be gradual. It will be a paradigm shock, a moment that changes everything. Don't get caught off guard. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you stay ahead of the curve. And don't stop here. Watch more videos on my channel to dive deeper into the world of Bitcoin, digital assets, and the seismic financial shift already underway. See you on next video.